Hi, welcome back. Many of you ask me for guidance and input on how to differentiate between your own thoughts, your own mind, or your own created emotions versus your intuition or the guidance from beyond, your guides, your angels, your higher self, and the universal wisdom. So it's like many of you ask, can I trust my gut feeling or can I trust my emotions? And how do I know whether it's my intuition or whether it's myself producing this information? And with this short video, I want to give you some sense of how you recognize what it is, where the information is coming from. And the problem is it's difficult to say trust your emotions, right? Because yes, emotions are a guiding system and emotions are important and they are actually what connects us to the higher realms, to the higher, to the broader field. It is through emotions and not the rational mind, right? But again, it is not. Emotions can also be produced by ourselves, by our ego, by our conditioning, by our beliefs. And so this is the hard part. It's not like know your emotions and notice what you feel and then trust that, because the question is, where do these feelings come from? So an indication, it's I'm struggling with words here, an indication of whether an information is coming from you or coming from beyond you, let's say from your intuition, is if you keep pondering about something and replaying it in your mind. Let's say some question that you have, is it A or B? And you try to suss out what it is. If you keep replaying it in your mind and basically listing rational arguments and pros and cons, then it's definitely not your intuition, and this process will actually block the intuition. Now, in order for us to differentiate between intuition and self-produced emotions or thoughts, we need to start to become very familiar with ourselves. We need to get to know ourselves really well, because the ego is great and it can fool us into believing things and into seemingly guiding us the right way when it is actually not the right way, when it is just a way based on fear or on avoiding something that the ego knows, oh, this is what we've experienced before, so let's not go down this route, so I'm going to give you the impulse to go into a different direction because we do not want to reproduce this, because the ego says, let's keep you safe, right? So, with your intuition, now everybody has it. You have it, I have it, everyone, right, has access to their intuition. This means to a guidance from within or from around us that is beyond ourselves, that is beyond our mind, beyond what we know, beyond what we think is tangible, okay? And once we start tapping into this, we do not want to stop. And I'm sure you've had very clear situations where you knew your intuition was telling you something. This inner voice was giving you some impulse, some knowledge, some insight that you did not know why it was there. You did not know. Rationally, it didn't make any sense. You did not know how you knew, but you knew either what to do or some information about somebody. It's there. So the first step would be, if you want to move into the direction of getting to know your intuition and being able to work with it and live with it in a better way, the first thing is to acknowledge that, yes, of course I'm intuitive. Of course I have my inner voice. Of course I have the higher wisdom accessible to me. Of course, because we all do. So it is not about developing a skill or acquiring something or studying something. You don't need to do this. You need to, it's the opposite. You need to take stuff away from you. And what you need to take away is your own beliefs, your own ego, your own identity, who you think you are. I'm this little human. No, you're not. You're so much more. It's deconstructing what you believe about yourself, the world, the broader world, the consciousness. So it's not about developing skills. Now, having said that, yes, if you want to be more intuitive, you need to practice that. You need to have a focus on it and practice it, because the more you practice it, as in allowing it to happen and recognizing it, so opening up, the more it will come to you naturally, easier, and it will be at some point then you will ask yourself, how could I ever have lived without this inner guidance? So that's the first thing, right? Recognize, yes, I am a spiritual being, I'm an intuitive being, and I have access to that. Now the second thing is, if you have a feeling about something, and this is where this whole emotions and feelings about can I trust my feelings? Because intuition does also communicate through not through your mind, but through your being, right? So if you have a feeling about something or someone or some place, you walk into a place and there is a feeling, okay? So let's say you walk into a room and you feel uncomfortable. And there might be nobody there. And you have no idea why you feel uncomfortable. Okay? There is something you're picking up on that is energetically in that room. Your intuition knows, your outer senses, like your non-physical senses, your beyond senses, know. So your clairvoyance, your clairsentience, you something beyond your senses knows, I don't feel comfortable here. Now, in this not feeling comfortable, because it's just not right, the way this feels is not the same thing as fear arising or as some like anxiety or depression or anxiousness. The way intuition communicates, even with uncomfortable things or a warning sign coming up, it is always in an emotionally neutral way. Which means, let's say you get a warning about a person from your intuition. There is someone who walks into your space, or you see someone and you have no idea why, but your intuition tells you, here's an alarm bell, right? So in this scenario, you notice it, your intuition talks to you, you notice, oh, alarm bell. Okay, and your tendency would be then, I'm going to remove myself from that. But the difference to your own programming and to your own, to yourself producing this feeling is, if you have had, let's say, difficult experiences with certain people, and this person might remind you of these people, or if you, whatever it is, if you're conditioned in a certain way, or if you are in a certain mood on a certain day and that person triggers something within you, you may get again the sense of, I don't feel comfortable with that person gives me a bad vibe, bad feeling, and you feel maybe anxious, you feel fearful, you feel annoyed, you feel like you want to run away, you feel like, but it is emotionally charged. And this means it's you. So then you can look at, okay, what within me, what's the programming, what's the conditioning, what are my experiences, what are my beliefs, what is going on within me? So intuition is always communicating neutrally. It's like you're watching the weather forecast. And the weather forecast for tomorrow might be, there's gonna be stormy winds and it's gonna rain for most of the day and it's gonna be very unpleasant, and you know it's better to stay indoors. And if you go outside, forget the umbrella because it will be blown off, and so difficult day tomorrow weather-wise. So you listen to it, you know it's coming, but you're not starting to get fearful about it or to feel anxiety about it, because it's like, okay, it's the forecast. We know it's coming. There is no way around it. It's there. It can already be detected, even though it has not yet happened. So neutrally, you hear, okay, tomorrow there's going to be like storms or winds or rain. And even though it may not be your preference, you don't go against it. You don't react strongly emotionally. It's like, okay, and then afterwards there'll be another day. And maybe I cannot do X, Y, Z, but that's okay. So the state in which you receive the information is neutral. Neutral, even though the information may be unpleasant. The same with places or with people or with a decision. If you get a certain sense, if you want to take a trip and somehow you get the intuitive notion that if you go on this trip, something unpleasant might happen or potentially dangerous. You can perceive this, but you will not be, oh my God, something dangerous is going to happen. I cannot go there. And what else is on this trip? And it's like this emotional response. You will go. This is how you experience it. At least that's from my experience. Now, if you experience intuition differently, but this is from my experience. This is from what I know from other people's intuition and their intuitive experiences. It will be like, okay, if I go there, there's something about this that does not feel right. There could be a potential. It might feel like danger. It might feel like unpleasantness. It might feel like something might go wrong. So then it's like, because I know this, I do not have to react emotionally. Now, the second thing, it could be from your intuition that you get the information neutrally, emotionally, and then your emotions might kick in, your thought processes might kick in from your ego, and then you project all the fears. So it's also important to notice, is there a gap between the emotional reaction and the information, receiving the information, that point in time? So if you know this, you make a different decision. That's it. And this is how intuition works. And you don't struggle with it. And yes, sometimes the ego could want something different. It's like, I really want to go out with this person. Your intuition might say, that's not going to end well. But your little ego self might say, I really want to. This feels exciting. And for whatever reason, I want to. And you can go against your intuition and you can enjoy the ride. Or not. You can just have the experience then of maybe it not going well. And then also this will be a confirmation of, listening to the intuition may save me some grief in the future. So I may as well do that. So that is a very, very clear guidance for you to differentiate between your intuition and your own created emotions about something. It's whether it's emotionally charged or not. Okay? And then also, if you receive some information about something and you develop an emotional response after that, check that out. And then it's very good to deal with your emotions in the same way. Okay, if that was the case, my intuition gave me the news, like the broadcast for tomorrow, it's the weather, that's what it's going to be like. And then your ego says, but I wanted to go surfing and I wanted to do this and now I can't, and I won't have time because now I have to work for 3 weeks and this will totally destroy my whole timetable. And you go into all of this emotionally. Then you also follow that thread and it's like, how come I do move into this whole tangent of thoughts and of fear or resistance or annoyance, or why do I do this, right? And that way you explore yourself more. And you will also notice then at some stage, if you follow your intuition more and more, you will become calmer, you will become a lot more peaceful, a lot more sovereign, a lot more decisive and clear about your own decisions, your own path, whatever. Because even if you sense something is not for me, you stop pushing against it straight away, because you know you can trust that. You can trust that inner feeling, that inner voice that says, not a good idea. You can still do it. You still have the freedom of choice, of course. But trusting that more and more is also the key for it to be able to show itself to you more and more. And like I said, we all have that guidance within us. We're all connected to the unified field. We're all connected to universal wisdom and truth. So all we have to do is then get out of the way as our little persona and with our little belief system, get out of the way and just allow for it to happen. Follow it, experiment with it, try it. You don't have to take my word for it. Try it and see what happens. And as soon, the same with your guides or the same with your higher self, as soon as there are fearful reactions, panicky reactions to anything negative that may come through, as soon as you feel, I'm getting a negative message from my guide, you know it's you. Because even if a guide or an angel warns you about something, I say warn, but gives you some indication that something may not be as helpful as something else or potentially dangerous, you will not feel a fear response if it is truly from your guidance, from your guides. It will just be an acknowledgement. It's almost like because you know. It's like you don't argue with what you know. It's like if you know you're holding a glass of water right now, you don't argue with that. You're holding a glass of water right now. So you don't have to have any response to that. It's like, I know there will be night in like 12 hours, and I know of 24 hours there will be day again. I know this. I don't have to have a reaction or a response. So if your guides tell you something, if you receive some information from your guides, you can always know if you respond fearfully or negatively. It's your own doing. The same with happy stuff. It's nearly like if your guides tell you something, you get this internal nodding or this internal shaking of the head, and you can follow that, right? So neutral, even if you know, oh, this is going to turn out really great, and then some excitement from your own persona might develop. But first of all, it's like, it's just a fact. It's just a knowing. And then, of course, you can rejoice in that knowing, right? But you don't have to go into an emotional reaction if you don't want to. So I hope that this is helpful, right? Because a lot of people also say, I saw my spirit guide and in a meditation, and strange, he wouldn't talk to me, and I got a really bad feeling, and I got really dark energy around me, and he looked at me very sternly, and he basically caused fear within me. You know, that's you creating that scenario, right? There is never ever any way that your loving guidance from the universe would cause you to feel fear or anxiety or pain or anything like that, ever. Because they're benevolent beyond words. You cannot even imagine how much you're loved by them. So I can say that to you as well. If you've had these experiences, I know many people have written to me about things like that, and this is also why I'm making a video like this, to let you know if that has been the case for you. That was your own creation. That was your imagination. That was your fantasy. That's fine, but you need to know it's not the spirit world. It's not your guides. Okay? Now, that's not to say there are not negative energies out there that you can tap into that can cause things within you, but that is a different topic. Okay? But your own guidance is always positive and never fear-instilling, ever. Okay? So I'm going to love you and leave you for today. And we'll talk again next time if you want to.